She was never meant to feel, not with a curse that entwines her very blood with the crown's will. But when a string of royal murders threatens the future of the kingdom, Seris, the crown's chained werewolf detective, must hunt the killer before her curse consumes her mind. To break her leash and save the exiled prince, she'll have to risk unleashing a darkness more deadly than any beast. Will she trade one tragedy for another? Or is love the only law she cannot break? But let me start from the beginning. The leather strap scraped Seris's teeth. She bit down as hard as she could. Silver clamped onto her wrist, and pain lanced through her arm, sharp as a wolf trap. 3 guards, a hall full of nobles, watching her flinch. Why the strap, not a gag? Did they expect her to howl or bite? Flickering torchlight painted the justice hall in molten patches. Seris's bare feet slipped on the slick, cold stone. The shackle's iron dug deeper, its weight impossible to ignore. The etched wolf and crowned, branding her as royal property. The stink of pine resin and sweat oozed off the strap. Old blood, too. Someone else's? Or her own from last week's summons? Captain Lysa paced behind her, boots clapping out a warning.
Bite softer. If you ruin that strap, you'll pay for it in skin.
Seris tried to breathe, but the taste of leather stuffed her mouth. Her knees ached, pressed hard into cold stone. Nobles snickered from their benches, silk sleeves brushing, faces pinched with delight or disgust. One noble woman smirked and turned away, covering her nose with a perfumed sleeve. Why parade her like this? Wasn't the shackle enough? Could they not smell the curse burning through her veins? Above them all, the queen's shadow fell long and cold. Her velvet gown shone green in the torchlight, every gold thread glinting. Her hand, raised, silenced the crowd with a flick. Even the torch crackled seemed to hesitate.
Proceed.
A guard forced Seris's arm flat on the stone. She tried to pull away. Couldn't. The shackle snapped shut. Her jaw locked as pain flared, the curse mark blazing blue-black beneath her skin. She gripped the strap, refusing to cry out. Someone in the gallery coughed, laughed disguised as a throat clear. Captain Lysa shot them a glare. For a heartbeat, Seris almost felt pity for the woman in charge of handling her. The queen's voice cut through the torchlight, smooth as a blade.
Let all see what loyalty means. The wolf's oath is not yet broken.
The humiliation stung worse than the shackle. All of them, guards, nobles, even the servants craning from the shadows, watched her struggle, her wolf blood, her curses, her choices all on display. She was nothing but a spectacle, punishment, property. A younger guard shifted his weight, helmet askew. Seris caught his frightened stare and offered him the barest hint of a smile. Even here, someone was more afraid than she was. The queen gestured again, impatient.
Prince Dane, your charge.
The prince's boots rasped over the stone as he stepped forward. He was tall, his doublet severe, his gloved hands curled tight. He didn't look at her. Not yet.
This wolf will hunt for you. The law binds her, and you.
Seris forced herself to rise. Her knees shook, the iron cuff's weight swinging from her wrist. She dipped her head, cloak half swallowing her shoulders, but did not kneel.
What am I hunting, Your Highness? Or is that a secret too?
Nobles murmured, scandalized. Captain Lysa's lips twitched. Respect or warning? Dane's jaw clenched. He still wouldn't meet her eyes. The queen's stare could have carved stone. She took a step down from her dais, skirts whispering.
Remember your oath, wolf. If you fail, you die. If you hesitate, your curse will finish what the shackle begins.
The mark on Seris's arm sizzled, visible through torn linen. She refused to look away. The crown's power was real, but so was her defiance. She'd show them that, even if it cost everything. A cry burst from the back. A courier, crimson tabard soaked through, shoved past 2 startled guards.
Another murder, Your Grace, in the prince's own chambers. The blood's not dry.
For a moment, the hall hung suspended. The queen's knuckles whitened on the throne rail. Then, an order, sharp as cold water.
Bring her. Now.
The guards yanked Seris upright. The iron cuff, wolf and crown, glinted in torchlight as she staggered forward, cloak dragging. Behind her, nobles murmured, eyes darting from her shackle to the prince's pale face. At the doors, Seris drew herself up, even as the chain dragged at her. One last look over her shoulder. Dane finally met her gaze. His eyes, storm grey and hurt, flicked away like she'd burned him. She made a choice then. She would not beg, she would not break. She walked, shackles scraping, toward the unknown blood and the prince's private rooms. The taste of pine and iron still bit her tongue. The wolf would hunt. But not only for them. The torches guttered as the doors crashed shut, and the first howl rose, somewhere far, somewhere near. The iron shackles scraped against slick marble as Seris stumbled. The smell of lavender clung to the velvet curtains, but underneath, copper thick and cloying stuck in her throat. Blood was pooled beneath a tangle of silk bedsheets, seeping into the pale stone. Why was she barefoot? Why drag her into the prince's chamber? Wasn't she supposed to be an animal, not a witness? A court of nobles clustered at the threshold, breath held. Captain Lysa's boots scuffed close behind, her hand tight on the chain. At the centre stood Prince Dane. No crown, just storm grey eyes and black gloves, silver ring glinting as he flicked his gaze from the bed to Seris. He didn't speak at first. He didn't have to. Guards braced their spears, knuckles white. No one would meet Seris's eyes. The room felt smaller than the justice hall, though the ceiling soared.
Kneel. Use your nose. Find me proof.
The order rang out, each word measured, careful, but the court's snickers were not. The shackle burned hotter, metal biting as she hesitated.
You heard him. Down, wolf.
Seris knelt, the marbles chill slicing up her bones. Her hair spilled forward, hiding her face from the whispering nobles. The blood under the sheets smelled wrong, not just royal, but tainted. Edged with something wild, she pressed her palm to the cold floor, fingertips slick with old iron.
You're slower than I was told. Is the beast too proud to grovel? Or do you need a nudge?
He gestured, and the pain in her wrist flared, hot and sharp. She gasped, forcing her nose closer to the stain, the stink of human fear. Underneath, a trace of fur, musk, wolf, but not hers. A tuft of coarse grey stuck to the edge of the bedsheets, caught in a glimmer of torchlight. She reached for it, chain rattling.
Here. Another wolf was here, not me. This?
The prince snatched the tuft from her grasp, his gloved fingers closing over it before she could blink. The court murmured, some craning to see.
Convenient, isn't it? You always find exactly what you need. Or did you plant this to save yourself?
His words landed like stones. Seris couldn't answer at first. The pain from the shackle wormed up her arm, burning in her veins. He turned the fur in his palm, eyes cold.
If you want lies, I can give you lies. But if you want the truth...
I want loyalty. And I doubt you know the meaning.
He tossed the tuft of fur to Captain Lysa, who pinched it between two fingers like something diseased. A guard leaned in too close, shield edge bruising Seris's shoulder.
If she bites the prince, can we blame the curse? Or do we just run for the river?
A ripple of laughter, nervous, sharp. Seris almost smiled. Almost. The marble floor was smeared with drying blood, and the ghost of something else. Footprints, too wide, half faded toward the window. She fixed her gaze on them, heart pounding against the raw inside of her ribs. The wolf who'd been here was large, not a palace dog, a kin.
You want a culprit. I want to know who shackled that fur here. Someone's lying. Maybe more than one.
The prince's jaw tightened, gloved hand curling at his side. For a moment, his mask slipped. Not fear, calculation. Seris has just pointed out the lies in this court's twisted game. Will the truth finally come to light? If you're eager to see what happens next, subscribe now and let's keep going. He stepped back, distancing himself from the bed, from her, but his eyes never left Seris, flicking down to the shackle, then up to her face. The court watched, torn between spectacle and disgust. A chill pressed in as the torches guttered, the velvet curtains trembled. On a breeze Seris couldn't feel. Blood seeped further across the marble, touchable and real beneath her bare toes. Her dignity, already lost, but here it was, trampled for their amusement. But her nose had found something. Not innocence, but a knot in the story.
She's done what you asked, Highness. Unless you want her to sniff your boots next.
A few of the nobles snorted. The prince didn't react. Gloves, smooth and precise, he slipped the wolf's fur into a velvet pouch, hidden from view. Seris's stomach twisted. Why did he want to keep the evidence away from her? Why bring her here, if only to humiliate and doubt? The pain in her wrist faded as she straightened. Her knees ached. The court's eyes prickled on her skin. But the fur was real. Whoever left it here, they wanted to be found, or framed. And the prince, with his perfect gloves and cold voice, might not want the truth at all. The blood had pooled into a crescent around her feet, sticky and dark as secrets. The prince turned away, cloak brushing the floor. Still, he wore his gloves. Seris's mind whirled, wolf scent, royal blood, a court that wanted her to fail, and a shackle that burned hotter every time she defied. If the prince hid the proof, who did he mean to protect? She looked up. His eyes met hers, storm grey, unblinking. Whatever he decided next, she wasn't leaving this chamber unchanged. Stone dew dripped along the ceiling, pooling near Seris's bare feet. The damp pressed through her linen shift, but it was the ice-cold iron chain looped around her ankle that kept her shivering. Each movement grinding metal against skin, each breath thick with mildew and stale torch smoke. They had left her chained to the wall. The Queen's words echoed, cruel and clean. No food, no water, no comfort until she proves herself. Captain Lysa's boots had barely faded from earshot when the first hunger pang hit. Seris swallowed it down. Pride tasted sharper than starvation. Her body refused stillness. The curse simmered just beneath her skin, heat knotting muscle and bone. She pressed her forehead to the wall, counting the cracks, tracing sorrow into stone. Somewhere above, water dripped in the corridor. The torch outside her cell flickered, hissing as resin popped. She lost track of time, until heat sharpened to pain behind her eyes. Memory blurred, then tore. She woke, sprawled sideways, the chain biting her ankle. Her hams stung. She blinked, saw her own nails broken and bloodied. Deep gouges raked the stone where her fingers had scraped, deeper than any human could dig. She did not remember making them. The realization tasted like iron. She curled her legs to her chest, cloak drawn tight. If the chain hadn't held, would she have torn through the door? Would someone else's blood have joined the dust beneath her nails? Movement at the far end of the cell. A shadow interrupted the torchlight, then a soft scrape as someone knelt near the bars. Seris tensed. The chain pulled her short. Cold metal pinched her skin. A flask slid quietly through the slot, catching the torch's gleam. Its body was etched with a hawk in flight, a royal crest, but different from the Queen's. Dane's voice, low and steady, followed.
You're not supposed to have this.
He kept his distance. His gloved fingers hovered at the edge of the cell door, never crossing the threshold. Those storm grey eyes fixed on hers, unreadable. A muscle worked in his jaw.
You look worse.
Seris stared at the flask, throat burning.
Why are you here?
Her own voice sounded rough, scraped raw by thirst and shame.
Mother gave orders, but I heard you screaming.
He didn't look away, waiting for her to answer, or maybe daring her to lie. Guilt pricked down her spine, sharper than hunger.
I wasn't awake.
A silence thick as wet earth. She pressed her hands to her knees, hiding the blood. The prince's gaze flicked to the chain digging into her ankle, then back. His own fists clenched until the silver ring on his hand caught the torchlight.
The curse is worsening?
She nodded. Slow. The words came in fragments.
I dreamed something else was using my hands. If I'd broken free, someone would be dead.
He exhaled. Not quite a sigh. More like surrender.
You fought it. That counts for more than she'll ever admit.
Seris shook her head, biting back tears.
Don't pity me. You shouldn't be here. If she finds out...
He cut her off.
Let me worry about her.
For a moment, their eyes caught. The torch crackled, painting his face in pale gold and shadow. He looked tired, lines scored deep at the corners of his mouth.
Why risk it?
He hesitated. Too long for comfort.
Not all chains are visible.
She reached for the flask, fingers trembling. The hawk engraving felt warmer than the iron shackle. Water stung her cracked lips. She forced herself to drink slowly, aware of his silent watch, aware of every shiver. Seris tried to draw her cloak tighter, but the chain jerked her short. The pain grounded her, made her swallow the shame.
You should go.
I will, but...
He paused. His fingers lingered against the bars, not quite touching her. She watched his hand, the silver ring, the way his knuckles whitened.
If the dreams get worse, call for me, even if you think I won't come.
A flush of warmth tangled with exhaustion. She almost laughed, almost. Instead, she tucked her knees tighter, the chain icy against skin.
I don't call for anyone.
His lips twitched, a flicker of something softer, almost gone before it began.
Stubborn.
A beat of quiet. Above, the drip echoed. Somewhere in the castle, a door slammed. He drew back, boots scraping stone.
Drink. Try not to dream.
He was gone before she could answer. The chain held her close. The hawk-marked flask grew warm in her palm as the torch guttered, shadows drawing long across the gouged stone. She glanced at her hands, blood in the cracks, nails ruined, but no one else's blood tonight. Not yet. The chain at her ankle froze her in place, but the beast inside pushed restless, hungry for more. And outside, in the corridor, footsteps stopped that did not belong to Dane. Mist pooled like silver milk between the moss and roots, swallowing Seris's feet as she stepped beside the prince's black mare. The air was sharp with fresh pine resin and dew, horse's breath unfurled in thick white clouds steaming in the cold. Her own cloak was too big. Dane's, she realized. The velvet scratched at her bare arms with each movement. The iron shackle dragged against her wrist, heavy as a verdict. Captain Lysa handed up the reins, brisk and unsmiling, eyes darting from Seris's trembling hands to the woods ahead.
Stay sharp. The scent's fresh, but not forgiving.
Seris pressed her palm to the mare's shoulder, steadying herself. The pulse of the curse beat through her fingers, hot and electric, tingling up her arm. Dane swung into the saddle with practiced ease. He didn't look at her at first.
You'll track. I'll cover. If you run, the captain shoots. That's the law.
Seris let her gaze linger on the steam rising from the horse's nostrils. A brief sense of awe broke through, the sunlight piercing through pine needles, every droplet on the moss glowing emerald and gold. A thrush called somewhere overhead, a fragile, ordinary sound. She closed her eyes just for a breath and remembered what it felt like to be only human. But then her senses prickled. Something was wrong. The woods felt too still. The curse's ache grew sharper, more insistent, twisting beneath her skin. She didn't know what she was missing, only that the silence was unnatural. Dane's voice cut into the hush.
Something wrong?
Her fingers twitched. The curse ached, stronger than before, twisting beneath her skin. She tried to force her voice steady.
It's nothing. Just louder this morning. The woods make it worse.
His jaw tightened. He reached for his gloves, then stopped, as if remembering she could see him.
We don't have time for slow. Tell me if you lose control.
And if I do?
He hesitated long enough that she opened her eyes. In the misty light, his storm-grey stare looked almost vulnerable. Almost.
Then you're not alone.
A pause, the kind that throbbed with words unspoken. The horse stamped, sending up another cloud of breath into the dawn. Seris knelt, pressing her fingers to damp moss. The world sharpened, wet earth and old blood, a tang that made her teeth ache. She caught the murderer's scent, sharp, wrong, streaking toward the heart of the woods.
I have it. North. Fast.
She pushed up, cloak trailing, shackle dragging. Dane glanced at Captain Lysa, then, unexpected, offered his hand for balance. She didn't take it. Instead, she stepped into the lead, brittle pride burning away her fear. They plunged into the trees, dew shattering beneath their feet. The woods swallowed sound, except for the constant steam of horses' breath behind her, and the thrum of the curse growing louder with every step. She risked a glance back. Dane was watching her, not the path. Trust or calculation? She couldn't tell. The silence broke with a low, guttural snarl from deep within the pines. Not human, not alone. Seris stiffened. The curse surged sharp enough to steal her breath. She turned, ready to face whatever waited, and saw the impossible. Misty dawn filtered through the pines, painting the forest in blurred emerald and grey. Damp moss squished under Seris's bare feet. Cold, almost numbing. The wet earth reeked of rain and roots, sharp enough to make her blink. The iron shackle on her wrist weighed heavier with every step. Each movement sent a spike of ache from her joints, and her fingernails, already split and blood-stained, itched with a need she almost understood. She pressed her palm to her cheek, feeling bristles erupt where skin should be. Not fur, not quite. The curse was halfway awake. Prince Dane moved ahead, his boots leaving crisp imprints in the sodden ground. No breathless rush, but not relaxed either. He scanned the undergrowth, as if the forest itself might lunge for him. His shoulders were drawn tight under the navy wool, the silver ring on his glove flashing with every motion. A sound snapped somewhere in the brush. She froze, pulse jumping. Dane's head turned, eyes meeting hers. For a heartbeat, she wanted to snarl. Not at him. At the way the world felt wrong. Always wrong. The scent of fresh pine resin flooded her senses. And then, a flash of colour, unnatural in all this green and brown. Caught in a briar, a scrap of velvet fluttered, deep, glittering emerald. She reached for it before she could think. Thorns stung her wrist. The fabric felt impossibly soft, royal, unmistakable. A memory surfaced. Queen Mairin in her gold-embroidered gown, high above the justice hall, eyes like cut glass. She hid the velvet in her fist, heart stuttering. The royal seamstresses hoarded every scrap. This shouldn't be here, not unless. Dane stepped closer, boots squelching. His gaze flicked over her hand, unreadable.
You're jumpy this morning.
His voice was low, controlled, but not unkind. She tucked the velvet deeper into her sleeve, refusing to meet his eyes.
Something's wrong with the curse. I can feel it moving. My skin.
Her voice broke. Dane's gloved hand hovered near her arm, uncertain. For a moment, she expected him to touch her. He didn't. Relief and disappointment tangled in her gut. A wolf's howl echoed from far behind, strained, almost a warning.
That was closer than before.
He scanned the briars she'd just searched, eyes narrowing as if sensing the secret she clutched. Seris forced herself to move on, but her grip on the velvet scrap tightened. If the queen's gown had torn, it must have happened here. No courtier would dare these woods. No accident explained this. Her mind whirled. The queen? Out here? Or was someone using her clothing to cast blame? Guilt prickled. She'd hidden the evidence. She should tell Dane. But if she was wrong, she'd be executed for slander. If she was right, a branch whipped back, catching her across the cheek. She grunted, more out of frustration than pain. Dane gave her a sidelong look, the lines of his mouth twitching.
You know, your wolf face is less terrifying than your glare.
She almost smiled. Almost. The sound of her own laughter startled her. Rough, unpracticed. They pressed deeper into the pines, the taste of wet earth thick on her tongue, every sense jangling. The velvet burned against her skin, a secret, hot and dangerous. She kept moving. She had no other choice. Somewhere ahead, another scrap of green flickered like a promise she couldn't trust. Pine needles scratched under Seris's feet, cold and slick with dew. The dawn had not yet dried them. The air was thick with pine resin. She pressed her palm to a low branch, and it stuck stubbornly, tacking her skin with its honeyed grip. The wind sighed through the trees, masking the ache in her muscles but not in her memory. But she didn't know what lurked behind the shadows, or what the forest was hiding. Prince Dane waited in the shadows between two trunks, arms folded, breath turning white in the morning chill. His eyes flicked to her shackled wrist, then away.
You're hiding something. You've been since the queen showed her face.
Her voice was threadbare, all edges. Dane's gaze hardened, but he said nothing. A raven called above, harsh and sudden.
You saw her orders. You know what the leash is, what she wants it to become. Tell me the truth, Dane. Was she behind what happened in your chamber?
She dug her fingers into the resin, the stickiness biting. She needed the pain. Proof she could still feel. Dane's jaw flexed, knuckles pale inside black leather.
No. I don't think she gave the order, but she knows more than she says.
That's not enough. I want the whole of it, not scraps. If you're going to use me, if you want my nose, my curse, then you treat me as an equal. Or I break the leash. I don't care if it kills me.
The pine scent burned in her nose. She felt the leash's weight, a pressure behind her ribs, a magic that pulsed when she disobeyed. But Dane hesitated, eyes flickering with something unreadable.
You think that's easy? You think she'd hesitate to burn us both if we failed her?
Let her come. I've nothing left she can take.
The threat lingered in the space between them, sharp as a knife. He stepped closer, boots sinking into moss. Their breath mingled, pine, sweat, fear. A sudden crack echoed from the undergrowth. Both of them went still, senses flaring. A fresh smear of pine resin glistened on Seris's palm as she curled her fingers. Her curse itched, the leash pricking deeper. She turned to Dane, voice raw.
If you break this pact, I break you. That's fair.
Somewhere beyond the trees, a howl rippled. A signal or a warning, she couldn't tell. Dane's hand brushed her elbow. The touch lingered, too deliberate to be accidental, his glove cool against her skin.
Stay close. Whatever that is, it's not ours.
A branch snapped, louder, nearer. Pine needles shifted beneath her toes. Seris tensed, drawing breath full of resin and something darker. Metallic. The woods pressed in. Questions crowding closer than the trees. Candle wax dripped onto Seris's bare ankle as she shuffled between two armed guards, their boots grinding pine needles into the rushes. Flickering torchlight smeared gold across the hall's rafters. The feast's shadows danced, banners fluttered, and watchful eyes studied her. The scent of roasted game hovered above the tables, but underneath, a faint copper tang made Seris ache with thirst. Above the clatter of goblets and low chatter, her blood tickled down her collarbone. The iron around her throat had been cinched tight for the Queen's approval. A fresh notch, sharp as broken glass, dug beneath her jaw. Every movement sent damp warmth crawling beneath her court cloak. She kept her head bowed, hair sweeping forward, but nothing could hide the rawness at her throat. Did they notice the trembling in her hands? Dane stood beside her, shoulders squared. The silver ring on his gloved fist flashed in the torchlight. He stared so hard at the nobles, it was as if he could freeze them with a single look. Captain Lysa appeared, her voice brisk, her gaze never pausing on Seris for more than a heartbeat.
Hold steady, Wolf. Keep eyes down. If they stare back twice as hard.
I'm not a wolf.
She winced as the iron collar tugged, splitting the scab at her neck. A single cold drop ran down her spine. She didn't know what would happen if it broke. The feast blurred around her, laughter forks clinking, velvet sleeves dusted with crumbs. She caught fragments of conversation, curse, forest, monster, her hands clenched in her lap, knuckles white, every sense stretched thin. Then a noble at the head table dropped her goblet. Wine splashed. The noble's mouth twisted, froth bubbling at the corners. A chair scraped back, too loud. Utensils clattered. The woman's eyes rolled back. She spasmed, limbs flailing, knocking plates from the table. Nobles shrieked and shrank away. Someone shouted, "Poison." 100 eyes turned, not to the corpse, but to Seris. Whispers crashed down the hall. Curse, wolf, murderous.
It's her. The curse? She brought it here.
Seris tried to rise, but a guard's hand crushed her shoulder. The iron collar pinched, hot blood trickling beneath her ear. Fury and fear tangled in her chest.
I haven't moved. I didn't.
The crowd pressed closer, suspicion sharpening their faces. The copper scent thickened. Her own blood. She tasted it on her tongue. But Dane stepped forward, voice cutting through the chaos.
Enough.
His tone was firm. He moved between her and the mob, towering, storm-grey eyes, unreadable.
No one touches her. Not while I stand here.
Murmurs stalled. The warmth of his shoulder blocked out the room's fear. For a breathless moment, Seris almost believed she was safe. Then the Queen's voice cut in, sharp as a knife.
If the wolf is innocent, she will survive the collar.
A signal. Hands seized Seris's chain, yanking the iron tighter. Pain flared white behind her eyes. Warm blood slicked under her cloak, dripping onto the golden plate at her feet. She met Dane's gaze through watering eyes.
Please, don't let them.
Stop. That's enough.
Lysa's voice broke through the tension, dry as snapped twigs.
You want a scapegoat? Look in your own goblets. She never touched a thing.
The collar's grip eased slightly. Seris swallowed iron and shame. Her vision blurred at the edges. Nobles argued, the room roiling with accusation and dread. Blood marked the floor by her plate, a map of pain the court could read. Dane stayed rooted beside her, a barrier as old as stone. Whispers multiplied. Some eyes flickered with doubt, others burned with certainty. The Queen's voice rang out again.
Find the source. No one leaves.
Captain Lysa moved off, barking orders. The doors slammed shut. The feast became a prison. Dane's warmth lingered at Seris's side, defiance in the face of a kingdom's fear. But the collar's bite reminded her how easily safety could bleed away. She looked down. Blood dripped from her neck into the mess of wine and spilled gravy. It pooled, bright and accusing, on the polished gold, as murmurs swelled to a storm. Who had poisoned the noble? Why frame her? And how long before the next accusation landed sharper than any collar? The corridor behind the great hall was a narrow artery, lit only by a few stubborn torches burning low. The air smelled of candle wax, clinging to damp stone, stale bread gone soft and hard again. Seris pressed her palm to the rough wall, the iron shackle heavy at her wrist, the thick blue cloak swallowing her shape. Her bare feet found every seam in the worn flagstones, but she did not flinch. The cool brass key, traced with twisting vines, rested warm in her palm. She'd found it beneath her food tray, pressed flat against the wood, where no guard or Captain Lysa would have left it. Her pulse quickened, not fear, but curiosity bucking in her chest. Someone wanted her out. She didn't wait to wonder who. With the key, she turned the lock of her cell, slow and careful, and slipped into the labyrinth of back corridors where servants moved like ghosts and secrets grew. A faint crackle of torch, the faint scuff of slippers over stone. She paused, shrinking behind a stack of bread crates. 2 figures stood just ahead, both hunched in twilight livery, one with a basket balanced on her hip, the other clutching a coin in tight, shaking fingers.
It's real gold, you know. Doesn't matter. I wish I'd never seen what's under those sheets.
The first servant's hand hovered until the coin caught the light. A wolf's head stamped deep in its surface. She tucked it into her apron, words muffled.
Keep quiet. None of it is our affair. The Queen's orders are the law.
A hush. Someone's breathing stuttered. Then the first servant's voice, brittle as frost.
Gold's worth more than truth in this palace.
But then a sudden noise made Seris freeze. The coin glinted once more before vanishing into darkness. Seris waited, skin prickling. Murder, cover-up, the Queen's reach, longer than any chain. She stepped out, cloak brushing her calves. She was nobody here, a shadow in prisoner's rags, but she had questions now and teeth beneath her tongue. The coin's wolf emblem haunted her. Why a wolf? Who gave the order? And who had risked everything to slip her the key? A soft cough startled her from behind. She spun, cloak snagging on a crate corner. An elderly maid with flour in her hair squinted up.
You're a tad old for hide and seek, dear.
Seris's heart stuttered, then steadied. The maid, unfazed, offered a hard, stale roll from her pocket. It smelled faintly of pine resin and resignation.
Go on. You look like you've eaten a week of bad news.
Seris accepted, lips quirking despite herself. The roll was a stone, but it was kindness all the same.
Thank you. Do you know who cleans the prince's chamber?
The maid's eyes narrowed, shrewd beneath drooping lids.
No one with sense, love. Not since last night.
Footsteps echoed further down, sharper, heavy, a patrol perhaps. Seris tucked the key tight into her sleeve, every nerve alight. She let her fingers brush the maid's hand, deliberate, no excuse. A spark of connection, a promise to remember this small grace. Seris melted back into the corridor's gloom, purposeful now. Behind her, the torchlight trembled, and the coin's wolf's head glimmered in her memory. Someone had left a door open, but which one, and why? She pressed on, determined, the taste of old bread and new secrets on her tongue, and froze as a cold draught swept past her ankles. A voice, sharp with command, drifted from an open doorway ahead.
Who is there? Show yourself at once.
Emerald sunbeams slant through the Queen's solar, painting the stone floor in green bands. The glass windows shimmer, throwing fractured light across scores of rare orchids, purple, bone white, one black as a bruise. The scent of moss and petals is thick, sweet, almost suffocating. Seris stands barefoot on the velvet rug, iron shackle biting above one ankle. Her palm sweats around the velvet scrap, creased and damp from her grip. She waits while Queen Mairin, half-turned in her gold-embroidered gown, examines papers at a lacquered desk. At her wrist, the petals of a black orchid curl like claws. The Queen doesn't look up. Her voice is smooth, cold as the river in winter.
You've come to accuse me. I suggest you speak quickly.
Seris's mouth is dry. Still, she lifts her chin.
I found this in the corridor outside Prince Dane's chambers.
She sets the velvet scrap on the desk. The emerald cloth glows in the light, almost alive.
And I heard you, last night. Your voice, plotting with someone I couldn't see. About the hunt, about blood.
Mairin plucks the scrap between two fingers, turning it so the threads catch sunlight. The black orchid's petals brush her knuckles as she moves. The Queen's mouth lifts, not a smile, something sharper.
You imagine yourself clever. Wolves are always sniffing after locked doors, always forgetting who welded the chains.
Seris's pulse thuds, each beat a question. She presses on.
The cell wasn't locked. The guard was gone. You wanted me to find this.
A flicker of approval, or just annoyance. The Queen's pale green eyes are unreadable.
I left nothing to chance. Even a beast must be given enough rope to hang itself.
Ceres's throat aches. Her voice softens, but she doesn't back down.
You're orchestrating all of it. The feast, the hunt, the poison.
Mairin cuts her off, voice slicing through the air.
You presume much. Perhaps you need a reminder of your place here.
She rises, the gown's velvet brushing the orchids, sending a bruised petal spiraling to the floor. Mairin steps close enough for Seris to see the faint veins under her skin. the cold gleam in her eyes. The queen reaches for Seris's face. Her touch is deliberate, fingers tracing Seris's jaw, not unkind, but claiming.
You think Prince Dane will save you?
Seris flinches, but does not step back.
He'd risk himself for the truth, not for me.
The queen's hand falls away, but not before Seris feels the chill where her skin was. Merrin's gaze sharpens.
If you fail in your task, if you refuse or lose control, the bargain ends. The prince dies with you.
The words rip the air apart. For a beat, Seris stands frozen, every muscle tight. She can't look away from the orchid curling at the queen's wrist, black in the green light, as if waiting for her answer.
You made him.
He offered. You should ask him what price he thought you were worth.
A sound stirs beyond the glass. A distant river, wind in the pines. Seris's thoughts tumble. Dane's clipped voice in the corridor, the way he watched her after the hunt, the ring he never removes. What bargain? When did he choose this? Merrin turns from her, dismissing Seris with a flick of the velvet scrap. The scent of orchids sharpens, overripe tinged with rot. Seris's hands tremble.
You tied our fates. Why?
Merrin pauses at the window, back straight, silhouette carved against shifting green.
Some beasts need a leash. Some rulers need a knife at their throat. You, my dear, will serve as both, or you will serve as nothing.
Seris's nails dig into her palm. The queen's words crowd the chamber, leaving no space to breathe. But the orchid at Merrin's wrist quivers, shedding one black petal. And Seris cannot help but wonder if even the strongest vines break under enough weight. She turns, fury and terror twisting in her veins, and nearly collides with Dane's shadow just beyond the doorway. His eyes meet hers, storm grey ring glinting, and Seris knows. The queen spoke true. Everything just changed. Wind coiled through the palace courtyard, carrying the sharp scent of pine resin and candle wax from distant corridors. Snowflakes spiraled, landing on Seris's bare feet and stinging like pinpricks against skin long used to stone and shackles. The heavy iron still bit her wrist, but she kept her chin high, blue eyes burning in the pallid dawn. Prince Dane stood across from her, arms folded, black leather gloves stiff at his sides. Frost clung to his lashes. He seemed carved out of the cold, all storm-grey gaze and rigid jaw, but she saw the shadow of exhaustion, how his stance wavered for half a heartbeat. But what was he hiding? She didn't know. A snowflake melted on Seris's wrist. She watched the drop slide along the iron shackle.
You brought me out here for air or for a show? Which is it tonight, Your Highness?
He glanced away, mouth flattening. Under the torch-lit arch, guards' murmurs faded as they retreated. Only the drip of water in the stone corridor remained. Dane's reply was a long time coming.
Does it matter? You're here. Speak quickly.
Seris's laugh came brittle. She tugged the cloak tighter, the iron cold through the linen.
You use me when it suits you, then lock me away when I bleed for you. That's not trust. That's convenience.
He flinched, barely. His gloved hand flexed, then stilled.
This isn't about trust. It's survival. For both of us.
She took a step closer. Her toes burned against the rimmed flagstones, but she refused to back down.
Survival? Whose? The Queen's or yours?
He didn't answer. Instead, he slid off one black glove, the motion abrupt, like he resented the weakness in his own fingers. His hand hovered, then settled, hesitant, trembling, on her uncloaked arm just above the iron shackle. His thumb brushed a snowflake from her skin. His touch burned, hot as fever. For a moment, Seris couldn't speak. The courtyard vanished. All that existed was the heat of his palm and the cold in her bones. Dane's breath fogged between them. He let go sharply, as if stung. The glove dropped to the snow. His voice cracked.
The Queen wants you monitored, fed information she can control. I'm tired of it. If you go digging, do it on your own terms, not hers.
Seris stared at the fallen glove. She'd never seen him barehanded before. The silver ring on his finger glinted, an unspoken promise or curse. The edges of her suspicion softened, just a fraction.
We keep what we find between us. Not a word to her, not to Lysa, not to anyone.
He nodded once, jaw clenched. For a blink, he looked young, just a man, not a prince. But then he hesitated, eyes flickering with doubt. "Fine," he finally said, voice low. "We make our own rules. But if you slip, if she suspects..."
Then we die together, or we finish this. No more leash.
His gaze locked on hers, something raw and hungry flickering in the storm grey. Snow gathered in her hair, pearled along her lashes. Dane reached, slow, as if fighting himself, and brushed one snowflake from her cheek. His fingers lingered, trembling, then retreated before the warmth could become something neither of them dared name. The wind carried the distant echo of a wolf's howl. Seris closed her eyes, feeling the ghost of his touch. When she opened them, Dane was watching her, maskless for the first time.
If you ever doubt me...
He stopped. The words stayed, thick in the frost-laden air. A wet drop slid from Seris's wrist to the stone, vanishing. Somewhere inside, a door slammed. Guards, or worse, the queen herself. But Seris only watched the melted snow, heart thrumming with something that felt dangerously close to hope. She didn't see Dane bend to retrieve his fallen glove, but she saw, for the first time, that he left the courtyard barehanded. Lanterns swayed above the village square, their golden light catching on Seris's iron shackle as she was guided through the press of bodies. Music coiled through the dusk, pipes and fiddles, laughter sharp as a blade. The scent of moss and old pine mingled with spilled wine and frying bread. Every footstep sent the iron chain at her wrist flickering in the glow, cold and slick against her skin. Children darted past, ribbons trailing behind, chasing the promise of sweet cakes. Guards in green and gold lined the square, their gazes fixed but smiles painted on. They parted as Queen Mairen stepped onto the dais, silver hair gleaming, her gown heavy with emerald and gold embroidery. Seris stood alone, cloak knotted at her shoulders, toes numb against the cobbles. The Queen's voice cut through the music.
Citizens of Oakhurst, the murders have ceased. The kingdom is safe.
A cheer rose, as if relief were an easy garment to slip into. Seris watched the crowd, faces flushed, eyes bright, mouths hungry for reassurance. The chain's weight pressed her arm down, lantern light winking across each link.
Let us thank our loyal wolf, Seris of the Pines. She has served her sentence. The crown grants her freedom.
A hush, then wild applause. Dane stepped forward, his gloved hand hovering just above Seris's wrist.
It's over. You're free, Seris.
His eyes didn't smile. She caught the tremor in his jaw, the way his silver ring twisted on his finger. The chain's lock clicked open, the sound louder than the crowd's roar. Warm lantern light spilled over her bare wrist, exposing bruises where iron had bitten deep. For a moment, the world spun with strange wonder. Someone thrust a garland of green leaves into her hands. Someone else pressed a honey cake to her palm. The crowd surged, bodies jostling, their joy honest, but brittle.
Eat before someone faints, including you.
Seris managed to laugh, weak and startled. Then she caught Dane's gaze, storm grey and searching.
Is it really over?
He hesitated, voice low.
No one's died in 3 nights. That counts for something.
But his grip lingered at her elbow, as if expecting to pull her back out of the light, until she saw the masked figure at the edge of the crowd. Pale wood mask, unmoving, eyes fixed on her. The revelers danced around them, but the mask never turned. Seris stepped forward, tension tightening her shoulders.
Dane, the one by the well. Do you see?
He followed her gaze, mouth tightening. The masked watcher melted into the throng, vanishing between two stalls.
Stay close. Don't trust this piece. Not yet.
Music swelled, lanterns spun. The chain glinted on the stones. A warning, not a memory. Seris pressed the garland to her chest. She could still feel eyes on her. The Queen's smile was too sharp. And somewhere in the crowd, the hunt had only just begun. Mist clung to the riverbank, heavy as wool, turning every rush and thorn into a blurred shape. The river's rush blotted out footsteps, and someone was running ahead, breath ragged, hidden by vapor. Ceres's bare feet slapped wet earth, blood from the bite on her forearm mixed with river mud, slick and cold between her toes. Her iron shackle snagged on Thistle, yanking her back. She cursed, twisting free, and the masked figure darted left, vanishing into reeds. Something sharp stung her cut. She pressed a palm to the wound. Blood welled, its copper tangs swallowed by the river's scent. Was the figure doubling back? She lunged forward, cloak snagging, breath burning. But then a rush of movement behind. The world shrank to damp moss, her own heartbeat, the thud of someone much heavier moving fast. Before Seris could turn, weight crashed into her, driving her down. Face first in slick mud and blood, she clawed for air. A hand, too large, far too strong, closed around her neck. Claws pressed into skin. The assassin's voice was a growl, deep and wrong. Not fully human.
Stay down. Didn't think you'd be stupid enough to follow.
Seris twisted, teeth bared. Her fingers found a stone. She slammed it into the attacker's wrist. The grip loosened. She gasped, rolling to her back, vision blurring as pain flared up her bitten arm. The assassin straddled her, silver dagger poised. Their mask shimmered in the fog, catching stray torchlight from distant shore. She spat mud. Her voice shook, but she forced steel into it.
Who sent you? Why?
A snarl, the blade pressed to her throat.
Wrong question, Wolf.
The river roared. Seris bucked, tried to throw the assassin off, but they were heavier, stronger, shifting shape in flashes, bones stretching, muscles warping under skin. Her own curse screamed to answer, but the iron on her wrist burned, deadening her strength. A howl cut through the haze, not distant, right beside them. The assassin jerked up, too late. Another figure crashed from the reeds, Dane, moving faster than any human, silver ring flashing as he swung a branch into the assassin's head. The assassin recoiled, mask slipping. For a heartbeat, Seris saw fur and fang, then Dane was on him, pinning his knife arm.
Move.
Dane's voice was ice, but his hands shook as he fought to keep the assassin's blade from Ceres's throat. She scrambled up, iron shackle dragging, blood smeared across her wrist and elbow. The world narrowed to river water and the sound of Dane grunting through clenched teeth. The assassin twisted, raking claws across Dane's face. Dane let out a curse, sharp, ugly.
Damn it. Sorry.
He glanced at Seris. Worry flickered, then vanished behind a scowl.
You all right?
The question was a rasp. She nodded, clutching her bleeding arm, a flicker of something almost gentle in his eyes. Then the assassin surged up, breaking Dane's grip, fleeing down the riverbank, leaving spatters of dark blood and mud in his wake. Seris staggered after. Her legs shook, iron scraping stone, pain flaring with every step. Dane caught her elbow, steadying her. For a breath, they were pressed together, his hand hot through the cloak. Then the moment was gone. They reached the water's edge. In the mud, something glinted. A coin or token, half buried. Seris knelt, fingers trembling. She turned it over and froze. It was engraved with the Queen's signet. A wolf's head crowned with thorns, identical to the seal in her orders. She looked up at Dane. The river rushed behind them, swallowing words.
She sent him. The Queen.
Her voice broke, the truth landing cold as river water. But Dane hesitated, eyes narrowing, until he spoke.
We need to leave. Now. Before she sends more.
But Seris couldn't move. Mud clung to her feet. Blood slicked her palm. The queen had ordered her death. Dane swore again. Quieter this time. Almost gentle.
If she wants you dead, we're running out of friends.
He tried to look away, but she caught the tremor in his hand. Something between them threatened to break open. Instead, his jaw locked. The assassin's token gleamed in her grip, the queen's mark. Nothing would ever be safe again. And behind them, in the fog, another branch snapped. Hay dust prickled Seris's lungs as she woke. Sunlight sliced through the gaps in the barn's boards, painting gold bars across the dirt floor and her bare legs. Blood, sharp, metallic, stained her shift and the hay beneath her. That wound on her ribs, torn open in last night's chaos, pulsed with an ugly heat. A weight pressed against her hip. A hand, broad and bare, cupped her jaw. Thumb rough with callus, fingers stained red. Dane. His knees dug into the straw, his hair wild from running, his doublet smeared with dried blood that wasn't all hers. He didn't speak, not at first. He pressed a rag to her wound, lips pressed thin. His hand trembled as he wiped her blood from her skin. Not the shaking of cold, the tremor of something fought and nearly lost. She wanted to say something brave. Instead, her voice split, soft and raw.
You should have left me.
His eyes snapped to hers. Thundercloud grey, rimmed red at the edges. He didn't flinch, but his thumb lingered against her jawline. Blood smeared across her cheekbone. She felt its warmth and the tremble in his skin.
No.
He reached for the flask at his belt with his free hand, uncorked it clumsily, poured water over her side. The pain burned so sharp the world narrowed to a needle point. She bit it back, choking on a gasp.
You're shaking.
He ignored it, pressing harder with the cloth. Blood seeped between his fingers, painting his palm and her face alike.
You'll live.
She almost laughed. Something in his voice twisted it from command to wish. The golden bars of sunlight shifted, warming her bare feet, turning the blood on his skin to rust.
If the curse doesn't take me first.
He froze, his hand stilled at her jaw, thumb pressing just beneath her ear. For one heartbeat, she felt his pulse racing beneath his skin. He opened his mouth, closed it. Finally, words tumbled out, rough as stones.
It should have been me. Marin offered the choice. I took her bargain. Your life for my crown. Our fates. Bound.
The barn seemed to shrink around them. The scent of hay, sweat, and iron pressed in.
What did you do?
His hand shook harder now, not from effort, but from fear. He gripped her chin, blood smearing along her jaw. His eyes burned and wouldn't look away.
I didn't come back for the crown.
Silence. Some light crept higher, catching the silver ring on his finger, the one she'd seen glinting in the Queen's chamber. The binding mark. She wanted to push him away, to curse him for the chains he'd chosen. Instead, she reached up, covering his hand with hers. His skin was hot, damp.
Why?
He swallowed, jaw clenched so tight it hurt to look at. The words came out flat, stripped of armor.
Because you?
He broke off, exhaling hard. His voice, so measured before, wavered on the edge of something dangerous.
Because I couldn't watch you die.
She stared. The air tasted like copper and hay. Something inside her, the old, cold anger, cracked. She hadn't wanted to need him, but his confession left her cut open, emptied. His hand was still at her jaw, blood drying sticky between their skins. He didn't pull away. Neither did she.
You gave up everything.
His laugh was a sound she'd never heard from him. Low, almost bitter.
Not everything. Marin keeps the last piece. The curse, there's a step left.
A throb of dread ran through her. He felt it too. The muscles in his arm tensed, but he didn't let go.
What is it? The last step?
His answer was a whisper, more exhale than word.
Blood or memory. She made me choose.
She tried to sit up. Pain flared, dizzying. He caught her, arms bracing her shoulders. For a heartbeat, their faces were close, breath mingling in the hay-scented dawn. His bare hand cupped her jaw again, thumb brushing dried blood from her cheek.
Which will you choose?
He didn't answer. Sunlight climbed her face, hot and bright. Dane's hand shook as he cradled her jaw, blood smearing his skin, binding them, not as wolf and prince, but as something raw and fragile. A crow called outside. The warmth was real. For a moment, nothing else mattered except his trembling hand, her blood, and the question twisting between them. Then, from the road beyond the barn, boots struck gravel. Voices. The Queen's soldiers, searching. Dane's eyes widened. His blood-smeared hand slipped from her jaw, and the next decision would cost them both. Rain battered the ancient stone bridge, drumming against Seris's bare feet, soaking the shredded hem of her shift. Stormy twilight pressed in. The river below snarled, cold and wild, as if hungry for failure. Dane's hand, gloved in black leather, locked around the iron shackle on her wrist. Rainwater ran in rivulets down to their knotted fingers. The wolf motif, carved into the bridge's balustrade, watched with blank stone eyes. Her skin prickled with more than cold, the curse coiling tighter with each heartbeat. Her breath leaked in ragged bursts. Blood still smeared her palm from the wound she'd let Dane stitch hours before. She had no time for wounds. He pressed the ancient sigil into her hand. The metal was slick with rain and sweat.
Speak the words. Now.
The bridge vibrated with the river's voice beneath. Seris's voice shook, but she clung to the words, the forbidden syllables Lysa had smuggled to her in a snort of dry contempt weeks ago, certain she'd never dare them. The taste was copper on her tongue.
Stone and birthright, break. Blood and vow, unbind. Wolf and woman, choose.
The iron shackle heated under Dane's grip. A hiss, sharp and living, burst from the metal. Seris's knees buckled, but Dane held fast, his knuckles pale as bone despite the rain rivulets running between their wrists. Her vision flickered. Stone bridge, river. Dane's storm-grey eyes, the wolf, carved into the parapet. The carvings seemed to twitch. Lightning split the clouds overhead, blue-white and furious. The curse answered. Pain lanced through her bones, liquid and blinding. Her throat closed. She tried not to scream.
Don't let go, please.
Dane's jaw clenched. The storm glinted on his silver ring as he squeezed her wrist harder.
I'm here. I won't move.
The stone beneath her feet grew slicker, moss and old blood, rain pooling in the wolf's carved mouth. Panic clawed up her spine. Power pressed against her skin, demanding to be let loose. The wolf inside her snarled, scenting freedom, the taste of river mist and wet iron. She gasped, fighting for air, her free hand gouged at the bridge, searching for anchor, finding only cold stone and the memory of Lysa's dry laugh. The world narrowed to Dane's hand and the burning iron.
If it takes me.
He cut her off.
Don't. I'm not afraid of you.
A pulse of black surged up her arm. Her bones cracked, shifting, not quite human, not quite wolf. The pain was bottomless. Rain streaked down Dane's face, gathering at his jaw. His breath was steady, but his eyes, wild with fear he wouldn't name. She could taste blood. Inside her chest, the leash twisted, fighting. She saw it. The law itself, knotted around her heart, centuries old, rotten as grave mold. The words snagged her tongue. Her body was a battlefield. Wolf teeth pressing against her lips, nails splitting, fur bristling under skin that barely held.
Dane, run. If I...
His grip bruised. He pressed his forehead to hers, rain trickling between them.
I gave my word. If you fall, I fall with you.
For one breath, she smelled moss and wet earth, river spray, and the copper tang of blood. The stone wolf beneath her hand felt almost warm. For a moment, she was only a girl, desperate and small. Then agony ripped her open, vision blurred. The wolf roared inside her, claws scrabbling for release. She screamed. Her body arched, lightning and darkness dueling in every muscle. The iron shackle glowed red, then blackened, then cracked. Dane's voice reached her, a thread in the storm.
Stay with me.
He locked both arms around her as she thrashed. Rain soaked his doublet, water and blood mingling on their hands. The stone wolf's motif beneath them seemed to shift, mouth open wider, as if silently howling. Her screams faded to rasps. Cold rain pelted Dane's hands, where they clamped hers. The iron shackles snapped, jagged and smoking. Power exploded through her veins. The leash was gone, but something worse flooded in. A darkness deeper than before, ancient, greedy, unbound. She met Dane's eyes. His fear was naked now. His grip never loosened.
I don't know who I'll be.
He drew her to his chest, unflinching as her teeth grazed his collar.
Then I'll remind you, if I have to bleed.
The wolf in her surged wild, half free, half hungry. The storm broke with a roar. Seris collapsed against him, body convulsing, nails gouging stone. Something tore inside her mind, and the void yawned wider. She clung to Dane, his arms an anchor in the torrent. But the curse was not done, not nearly. The wolf motif's eyes seemed to glow, just for an instant, as darkness bled from the broken shackle onto the bridge. And then Seris's mouth filled with the taste of iron and river water as her body twisted one final time. Rain lashed across the ancient stone bridge, cold and relentless. Seris's bare feet pressed into slick iron rivets where the shackle bit her skin. The river below roared, its sound a warning or a call. Emerald velvet whipped in the wind ahead, Queen Maren, her features blurred and sharpened by lightning. Dane stood at Seris's side, his gloved hand hovering near hers but never making contact. For a heartbeat, Seris wished she could step back into the storm's darkness, anywhere but here. But the wolfen crown etched into her iron cuff seemed to pulse against her wrist, as if it could sense what was coming. Queen Maren's voice cut through the downpour, precise and cold as the iron beneath Seris's feet.
You were supposed to be dead before the ritual. What a disappointment.
No one moved. The scent of wet earth and copper hung heavy, tangled with orchid and moss as Maren approached. The queen's cloak snapped in the wind, bright as a wound against the storm. Dane's jaw locked. His storm-grey eyes never left the queen. For once, Seris felt him trembling beside her, his composure unraveling, invisible but seismic.
If you wanted me dead, you should have done it yourself.
Her voice almost vanished in the rain. Maren's green eyes cut to her.
You think I haven't killed before? You think I flinch at blood?
Maren lifted her hand. For a moment, Seris saw it shake before the queen curled her fingers into a fist.
You never understood your place. That's your flaw. You still don't.
Lightning burned across the bridge. Seris flinched from the glare but didn't retreat. The queen's features flickered in the storm, sharp, unyielding, but Seris saw it, a crack around the mouth, a familiar shape.
This is madness. She's...
Maren spun on him.
Silence. You, of all people, should thank me. You were spared the throne's curse.
Dane stepped forward, the bridge slick beneath his boots. His voice was low, raw.
She's not your weapon, or your scapegoat.
Maren's cloak lashed out, rain beaded, ran in rivulets off the gold embroidery. Seris shuddered, the texture of damp velvet imprinting on her mind, opulent, suffocating. Maren's gaze held Seris. Her next words landed like stones.
You want truth? Here it is. You are of my blood. My firstborn, the one I could not claim. So, I bound you by oath and iron, made you less than human, so the throne would never be free of its beasts.
The river's roar vanished. Seris's pulse raced, her thoughts scattering. She stared at her own hands, skin pale and slick with rain, the iron cuff biting deeper. Wolf and crown, her birthright, a chain.
You, my mother.
Her tongue failed her after that. Marin's lips thinned. She stepped closer, her cloak brushing Seris's knees, emerald and cold as the queen herself.
I could not let the wolf line end. The kingdom needs monsters more than it needs heirs. You were never meant to survive.
Dane reached for Seris's wrist. His gloved hand landed over her shackle, rain running down leather to her skin. The first touch, deliberate, desperate. Seris couldn't breathe.
You lied to us both, to all of us.
I did what was necessary. A crown is not worn with love. It is kept by sacrifice.
The wind surged. The queen drew a silver blade, its edge flashing green in the lightning. She advanced, eyes never leaving Seris.
One death ends the curse. Yours or mine, decide.
Seris's mind spun. The iron cuff's etching burned. The wolf, the crown, memory. A child's oath forced with a bloody finger. The queen's whisper in the dark. You will serve, as I have served. Had that been an oath, or a curse all along? She looked to Dane. His eyes begged her to run. But Seris planted her feet on the ancient stone, damp moss, squelching beneath her toes.
Let her try.
Lightning cracked, thunder folding over the words. Marin lunged. Dane stepped between them, arms wide, blocking the blade. The queen faltered. Her face, blurred by rain, was all calculation and something like fear. The blade pressed against Dane's chest. Trembling, Marin's hand shook harder now, velvet and gold sodden against her wrist. For one breath, Seris saw herself reflected, bound by law, by blood, by chain, the wolf and crown. The choice was hers. She reached for Marin's blade, fingers closing over steel. Rain, blood, pain flooding together. Marin gasped, her grip breaking.
You made me a monster. Now you face what you made.
The queen staggered. River, storm, iron, velvet, everything blurred. Marin's eyes, at last, were vulnerable, human.
I was only trying.
She didn't finish. Seris raised the blade. Dane's hand caught her wrist, not stopping, just anchoring her. Their eyes met, rain running down his face, jaw clenched.
Don't become her.
Seris's grip faltered. The blade hovered between freedom and vengeance. The wolf and crown cuff dug deep. Her choice, she looked at the queen, her mother. The storm raged, and Seris made her decision. Wet iron stung Seris's bare feet, slick as the ancient stone bridge vanished beneath the haze of dawn. The river roared below, raw, constant, promise and threat, tangled in cold spray. Her body quaked, claws scraping the stone, then curling inward as the curse tried to drag her under. Queen Marin stood across from her, emerald gown soaked, silver hair a crown of thorns. Dane hovered nearby, every muscle drawn taut, his gloves leaving black streaks on the parapet. No guards, no witnesses but the storm and the law between them. The curse's voice gnawed at her bones, savage, velvet, irresistible. Kill her. The chain breaks. Your blood, her blood, freedom at last. A flash of metal, Seris's shackle biting her wrist, the queen's gaze cold as wet iron, unblinking.
End it, wolf. Let the old order die in me.
Seris's vision blurred, her mouth twisted, jaw aching to snap, fangs itching beneath her skin. Claws lengthened, then drew back, digging at the bridge, her bare feet gripping stone, desperate for something real. Orchid and moss from the queen's solar clung to her like a curse of its own.
Seris.
His voice cracked. He moved closer, river spray catching in his hair. She felt him, his fear, his hope, his refusal to beg. He would not order her. He would not shield her from this.
Don't let her turn you into what she is.
The queen's lips curled. Her words found the softest part of Seris's mind and pressed.
You wanted freedom. Here it stands. One act, one cut, or live as their leash dog until you rot.
But then, a flicker of doubt. She didn't know if she could do it. Could she really end it? The copper tang of blood, hers, maybe the Queen's, maybe both, filled her senses. The bridge trembled under her shaking legs. She hesitated. The choice loomed. A different voice, smaller inside. What would you have been without her law? Without their chains, Seris's claws retracted, pain biting as flesh and nail ground against wet stone. Her bare feet steadied her, anchored her to this place, this choice. The dawn painted emerald streaks on the Queen's gown, and Seris saw herself in those shards, wolf and woman, cursed and kind, hungry and afraid. Maren took a step forward, offering her throat.
Do it, if you can. Take your place among monsters.
Seris's body trembled. The darkness surged, teeth, fury, the promise of being unstoppable. She could almost taste it, but Dane's hand hovered, not touching, just close enough that she could feel the heat. He would not hold her back. This was hers. Her voice was ragged, barely a whisper, but it cut through the storm.
I am not your monster.
The curse bucked, violent, stinging, desperate. Her skin burned, as if iron had fused to the bone. She screamed, sound swallowed by the river. She did not lunge, she did not kill. But then, something shifted. Her resolve wavered. The curse's grip tightened, and she felt the darkness clawing at her, greedy, furious. Her body convulsed. The curse snapped like a chain stretched too far. Something inside her tore. Her wolf form, the one thing that had ever been truly hers, slipped through her grasp. Heat flooded her limbs, then cold, then nothing. Seris stumbled, catching herself against the parapet. Her bare feet skidded, skin raw on slick stone, claws gone. The iron shackle hung heavy, but she could not feel her wolf. No edge, no silver heat, just emptiness. Dane caught her before she fell. His hands were shaking.
Seris, what's happened?
She stared at her hands, only hands. No claws, no fur, nothing but skin and iron.
I can't feel it. The wolf, it's...
The Queen said nothing, only watched. Her eyes were not triumphant, not even cold, just measuring. A gust of wind carried the scent of orchid and moss, mingled with wet iron and loss. The river thundered, indifferent. Seris didn't cry. She swallowed the ache, the hunger, the freedom she'd chosen not to buy in blood. Dane let go, slow, as if afraid she might vanish. He opened his mouth, but the words failed. The Queen stepped back from the parapet. Her silence was a promise and a warning. Something in the dawn light shuddered, as if the curse had passed. But to where? Seris pressed her bare feet flat to the stone. Her claws would never return, and the law was waiting, always for someone else to bleed. Mist swirled round the ancient bridge, cool against Ceres's throat. But it was the sunlight, sharp and gold, that found her first. It warmed her cheek, coaxing her eyes open. Above, the river roared beneath the stones. Her last memory was pain, then a crack like breaking bone, and the iron band at her wrist splitting. She didn't know how she'd survived. Her head felt heavy. Distantly, she sensed movement, the gentle shift of arms beneath her shoulders, a steady heartbeat, not her own. She blinked, vision blurring, and saw the dark blue of Dane's court cloak draped over her, his shape cut against the dawn. He knelt in the wet grass with her cradled close. The coarse cloak scratched her bare feet. The air still smelled of wet earth and a trace of copper from her wound. But the pain in her side was muted, blunted by exhaustion and something softer. For a moment, neither spoke. The only sounds were the rush of the river and the distant caw of a crow. It landed near the broken shackle glinting in the grass. A scrap of iron, pecked at and ignored by the world, now that it had lost its power. Dane's jaw was tight, but the mask he wore through every storm, Formality, distance, that constant wariness had cracked. His gloved hand cupped her face as if she might vanish if he let go.
You're awake.
His voice was low and measured, but it trembled. The same words he'd spoken in the justice hall when she first looked up from the stone floor, wrists bound and spirit raw. Now, there was no chain between them, only the imprint of absence, the memory of weight.
I'm here. I'm not.
She touched her left wrist. Only bruised flesh remained. The iron lay shattered in the morning grass.
It's gone, Dane. I can't feel it anymore.
A laugh escaped her, ragged and wild. The world felt dangerous in new ways, free. He bent his head, pressing his forehead to hers. Morning sunlight caught in his raven hair. Her breath tangled with his, and she saw, finally, how haunted he'd been. The burden he'd carried because of her, because of the law.
They won't bind you again. Not while I'm breathing.
She reached for his hand, threading her fingers through his. His glove was cool and stiff, but he peeled it off, letting her feel the heat of his skin. The crow hopped closer, tilting its head. It pecked at the broken shackle, then flew off into the mist, leaving the useless chain behind.
What happens now?
He hesitated. She felt his uncertainty, raw as her own.
You choose. No leash, no orders. If you want to run, I won't follow. But if you stay...
He stopped. Words failed him for once. Seris lifted her face to the warmth. Sunlight spilled over her closed eyes. She leaned into him, heart exposed.
I'm tired of running, Dane.
He kissed her, unhurried, fierce, nothing held back. The world narrowed to sunrise, damp grass, blood and warmth, and the river singing below. She breathed him in. For the first time, her wolf did not strain at a leash or burn with magic. She was whole, dangerous, untethered, and she chose him. He kissed her awake, her own name on his tongue. The echo of chains breaking faded, replaced by something stranger, hope. But as the sun burned the mist from the bridge and the kingdom woke uncertain, Seris saw the empty road stretching ahead. The queen was gone, the curse undone, but the throne itself sat vacant, watchful, waiting for someone new to claim it. In the grass, the broken shackle gleamed, and across the river, dawn glinted off the spires of the palace, where power had never been so fragile. The banners in the justice hall snapped against their poles, each flutter catching the pale emerald sunbeams that spilled through the high glass windows. The old stones, where Seris had once knelt in chains, head bowed, now rang with a different morning sound. Not the crowd's jeering, but the low hum of voices, uncertain, hopeful, and afraid. Seris's feet pressed bare and sure on the cold marble. The scent of candle wax and old paper curled at her nose, but no guards barred her way. Dane walked half a pace beside her, his navy cloak brushing her tattered sleeve. He did not reach for her. He just stood close enough that his presence calmed the ache in her chest. At the windowsill, the blue jay feather caught her eye, vivid and out of place in the stone hall. One streak of sky, trembling in the draught. She remembered the last time she'd entered this place, wrists shackled, the queen's voice echoing against the stone. But what she didn't know was why the feather was here now. Now, Merin's throne stood empty. The emerald velvet was unsat, the gold crown left on its cushion. Lysa, standing near the archway, met Seris's gaze with a curt nod, her eyes sharp and measuring.
You planning to gawk or walk? Palace won't run itself.
Seris almost smiled. She stepped forward, the memory of iron still burning her wrist. She flexed her fingers, scarred where the manacle had been, the wolf and crown mark etched forever in her palm. The pain flared, then faded, leaving something raw and clean behind. Dane's voice, low and certain, broke the hush.
No more chains, no more orders you haven't chosen.
He looked at Lysa, then at Seris, his words formal, but his jaw clenched with something messy beneath.
You're free, Seris. That's law now.
About time someone saw sense.
Lysa's smile was thin but real, her tone brisk as ever. She stepped past, The iron in her stance softened for a breath. Her voice dropped.
Still need a detective. Trials aren't over.
A hush settled in the hall. Seris stood beneath the battered banners, the new sun painting her in fractured green and gold. She remembered every humiliation, every time she'd been forced to kneel, and now, not a single hand reached for her, not even the Queen. Word had spread. Marin was gone. Some whispered exile, others poison or repentance. But the result was the same. The crown was untended. A sparrow's cry echoed faintly. The blue jay feather trembled as a breeze shifted, almost as if beckoning her onward. Seris's palm stung, the mark a constant reminder of what she'd lost to win this.
You could leave, you know. No leash left. Not for you.
The words scraped, as if it cost him to say them. She just shook her head.
I stay, on my own terms. Someone has to see what's broken and fix what can be fixed.
Dane's posture eased by a fraction. He didn't smile, but the tension in his shoulders unraveled. A knot loosened after too many years. Seris turned toward the light. Her scarred hand brushed the blue jay feather. It clung to the stone, stubborn and bright. A servant in green hurried in. Eyes wide, he pressed a folded letter into Seris's hand and fled before she could speak. The wax bore a crest she'd never seen, a wolf's head splitting a silver crown. The letter read, "Your next case awaits, detective." The banners in the justice hall shifted, catching the sun's breath, as Seris traced the wolf and crown in her palm. The kingdom had changed, but the hunt was never done. When Seris chose compassion on the bridge, she shattered centuries of law with a single decision. Would you have done the same? If her wound and her courage left a mark on you, a like or a comment helps stories like this find their next listener. For now, may you wear your scars with pride until the next case calls.